And for that, especially talking now about emerging models for innovation creation, it is my great pleasure to welcome to the stage two outstanding experts and speakers. First up, he's the CEO of Siemens Mobility, Michael Peter, and the Executive Officer of Maruti Suzuki, Dr. Tapan Sahoo, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to have you. Please. Good to have you. Please have a seat. This is your microphone. And it's great to have you all with us here today. Michael and Tapan, thank you so much. The first Spotlight Dialogue starts now. The CEO of Siemens Mobility, so gracious that you could make the time to be with us here today, Michael. And of course, we are at the German-Indian Innovation Summit. So my first question, very obviously, is, of course, about the many, many years of Siemens-India partnership. Give us a very quick background as to the collaboration that India and your company has been undertaking.
That's a difficult question for a short answer, but I'll try. Because Siemens has been in India for over 150 years. We laid the first communication cable between Egypt and India 150 years ago in 1870. So I think somebody said it before, India, you shouldn't think of India as a consumer country or an export location. I think you shouldn't think of it as a low-cost location. I think it is a place to innovate today and bring all of this together. I think it's a highly competitive place, of course. And I think all of this is what we're trying to use in Siemens and Siemens Mobility. We have several thousand people in India. We have an initiative to purchase several hundred million euros of subsystems for our trains. But we also want to innovate in India, and I'm not sure if everybody knows Siemens Mobility. So we do trains, we do high-speed trains, we do regional trains, we do driverless metro systems. We've done metro systems in Singapore, Delhi, Shanghai, Sao Paulo, Paris, London. These are all our systems. So anything on rail is us pretty much.
So 150 years of Siemens-India partnership, a very proud track record to look back on. 150 years, that's a number that is truly impressive. And you've already laid out briefly what Siemens Mobility does. We'll dive, of course, deeper into the subject matter as the conversation progresses. But I want to bring Tapan in here for the time being. Tapan, it's great to have you with us as the Executive Officer of Maruti Suzuki. We are, of course, here at the German-Indian Innovation Summit, and therefore I want to give you a chance also briefly to talk how your company, how you as an executive officer are viewing the Indo-German collaboration at the time being.
I think we are looking at it as a very, very promising collaboration. At Maruti Suzuki, we started our innovation journey about 5 years back, our collaboration with startups. So far in India, we looked at about 5,000 plus startups. 150 of them are engaged with us at different stages. 40 plus are doing paid POCs, and 28 have become our business partners. But after the India journey, we realized that, okay, we need to look at not only India, but from abroad. So we started with Germany. That's our first cohort in terms of our global outreach. And we looked at 70 German startups last year. 7 of them came to India for Immersion Week, and 3 of them are doing right now paid POCs. So considering the fact that a lot of developments take place in some time in advance in Germany, and India and Germany can become partners together because our startups can get access to the market in Germany, and German startups can get access to the Indian market and co-create solutions for future. I think that's how we look at the India-German partnership for future.
Yeah, without a doubt, a win-win situation here. That is abundantly clear, and it has been made abundantly clear throughout the speeches here this morning and in your initial statements. Michael, you've already pointed out that you've been in India as Siemens for 150 years. Many ambitious projects that you are currently also doing and undertaking in that country with an innovation focus. Digital rail is, of course, one of them. Perhaps could you give us maybe some brief overview of the growth trajectory of Siemens Mobility in India? I know that you have many metro high-speed projects underway, for instance. What are some of the main projects that you are currently tackling in India?
Yes, we're very much established in the signaling world, so making sure there's no accidents on rail. But I think the more iconic ones that you hear about is we're building 1,200 locomotives for Indian railways. These will replace 800,000 trucks over the lifetime. So I think that's an important facet also when we talk about India. This real striving for clean industries, for sustainable living. I think that's really a key ingredient when we talk about cooperating with Europe. We're building the metro system in Pune right now, so bringing people from A to B, connecting people. Much of the of the transportation growth is happening in Asia, but also in Europe. And these are projects I think that are iconic. And maybe another facet about India. I mean, we all know it's got 1.4 billion people living there, but Indian Railways alone employs 1 million people. So there's a huge amount of domain know-how there. So that's why India, for somebody like us in the rail world, is not a market. It's much more than a market. It's actually a place to innovate, to bring domain know-how together with the latest technology. And I think that's extremely relevant. We've talked very little about artificial intelligence, but I think every country need to think about where is the place in artificial intelligence. The changes will be as big as the computer and the internet. And I think for us in our world, USA will be the leader in general AI. But industry AI, who's going to own that? If Germany doesn't try to play a big role here, and if India doesn't try to play a big role here, I think we're really missing a big opportunity.
Absolutely. I think Europe's leader and the world's largest democracy are very well suited to be at the forefront of this cutting-edge debate, and very crucial one, goes without saying. Tapan, perhaps you can also enlighten us about some of the recent product launches, perhaps, that you are currently undertaking.
As part of our digital journey, if you look at it, I think consumers in India are really, really digital savvy today. You know, 75%, more than 70% customers, they do online research before coming to the showroom. So what we did is, as an organization, we digitized and make sure that the journey, our 24 out of 26 touch points are all digital, except delivery and test drive. So it's all digital. But we also realized that the journey is not seamless. So we want to make it seamless. So how do we make it seamless? So we are creating an app for the consumers. We have 30 million plus consumers, to make sure that from the pre-sales journey to discovery to sales, after sales, post-sales, everything is a seamless journey. So that's the kind of app which we launched this year in May. It's in a beta and testing phase, but we have currently about 1.2 million customers using that app, and we're trying to improve that. That's one of the biggest changes that we have done. The second thing is that, for example, customers today, are digital. If you're in trouble, you look for your owner's manual, but nobody reads the owner manual. And therefore, I think one of the solutions, we have our startup here also, Jen. I think along with our startup, we created a solution which is like, you take your mobile phone, you take a picture, and it will tell you what is the trouble, how do you troubleshoot it, and then find out the ways to the nearest service station. So this solution is deployed in all our vehicles in India today. And I think that's 1.8 million plus vehicles every year. So these are the two things I think I would like to highlight, that these are the kind of solutions we are looking at. And basic philosophy is that how do we make consumers at the center of our innovation?
Yeah.
So it's all about customer centricity.
Absolutely, and the center of collaboration and innovation is, of course, also at the heart of this debate here that we're having on this very stage. Michael, you've already talked, of course, about the projects that you currently have underway, but it's more than just projects and products, is it? It's also about talent development. It's about having the right people in place, about expanding teams. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think if you make the mistake to think India is low cost, if that's the reason you go there, then you're on a very short journey. You lose your people and you miss the opportunity. And I think that's what many European companies have done, maybe in China or in Eastern Europe. Let's not repeat that mistake in India. You have bright engineers there. I think we saw some of the startups in the world. And to me, when I think about India, it's you have to tap into this pool of unlimited engineering resources, of these skills that come with a domain. And yes, the global competitiveness, and I think that's a huge chance. In Siemens, when we talk about startups, to bring innovations in, a high-speed train has 10,000 sensors. if I can make this data available to a startup and they can work with this data, I'm sure we can predict failures before they happen on a train, be it an air conditioning unit, whatever. And this is no low tech, this is high tech. We want high tech from India. We have an organization that we call actually the startup to connect with startups. So when a business unit has a challenge to resolve, they can go to this and they say, there's a startup somewhere in India that we've worked with, and maybe they weren't thinking trains when they invented it. Maybe they were thinking defense, or they were thinking the moon. But the ruggedness of the system, many requirements are very similar. And we have an organization that really connects these startups with us to bring innovation into where it really matters in the world, where people really want to bring the humankind forward. And Shilan is somewhere in the room here. If you remember, Shilan is a name. There she is. She's the person to connect with for Siemens if you think what you've talked about is relevant for trains.
Yeah, stand up for a second so everybody can see you. There you have it, no pressure. So it's very clear from listening to you that startup collaboration is a priority of yours, of Siemens Mobility, of fostering that partnership. Tapan, where do you come in? On this subject matter, on Indo-German collaboration, startup collaboration, on R&D partnerships, where do you come in?
I think if we look at the kind of startups we looked at from Germany last year, it's not about automotive or cars at all. We looked at startups who are in healthcare. We looked at startups who are in AI. We looked at startups who are able to use computer vision, apply to our situation. So if I tell you our philosophy has been innovate, collaborate, and co-create. That's the philosophy we follow. And we look at the solution, we look at the technology, but apply it to our context. So the startups, that co-creation actually helps startups, gives them the opportunity to challenge themselves, gives us the opportunity to challenge ourselves and look at new solutions. And I think I'm very hopeful that after the first cohort completes and we are able to successfully complete the POCs, probably we'll be taking up the next cohort as well with Germany and look at how these startups can come to India and make in India also for the world. I mean,
yeah, I think that's very well said. We're in the final 3 remaining minutes already. The spotlight dialogues are meant to be fast and dynamic. You've already mentioned, Michael, that Siemens Mobility has 150 years of experience in India. Is very, very impressive and long track record. What, in your perspective and based on your experience, is the #1 mistakes that German companies make when they're looking at collaboration with India, based on your experience?
Well, I already mentioned it. To think you go there to save costs.
Yeah.
It's surely extremely competitive, but make no mistake, it's high tech and it's rugged. And I think the potential is completely missed if you go there to buy, I don't know, cheap fiberglass parts. I mean, that's really a waste of time that we can produce with a robot somewhere else pretty soon. But I think the potential to think about, and that's why I mentioned the number, 1 million people working in railways, just on Indian railways. That domain know-how, I mean, what a country, what an industrial heritage under tough circumstances. When I saw the slide with the heat and the cold, and I saw the moon, and I see the drones, I think, the drones could help me inspect my catenary system that is thousands of kilometers long, and we waste a lot of money. When I see the little moon robot, I think about, can this thing actually do an inspection for me on a train without us having people to bring in? When I see the climate, I mean, that's kind of what we do. We need systems. An interlocking system, a signaling system can fail one time in 100,000 years. That's the reliability we designed towards. I think that's similar when you send something to the moon and you don't want to fail it because it was quite an expensive voyage to go there. So I think that's really what we need to do. And again, I think it was also mentioned geopolitically, how many friends we can work with on really making things like complicated railroad system for the world. I think this could be a friendship and partnership actually quite important and vital going forward.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the German-Indian Innovation Corridor here is, of course, very well suited to serve as a platform to foster that collaboration. Last question to both of you with the request for a brief answer. It seems to me, having listened to the speeches and inputs here today, we're only scratching on the surface of Indian-German collaboration. How much room is there still, Tapan? How much room for expansion, how much room for improvement is there still, from your perspective and experience, for Indian-German collaboration?
No, I think we are just touching the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
We have not even gone to below the water at all.
What are some areas you see where we could still maximize the potential?
No, if I say from our perspective, there are a lot of areas. There are areas of deep tech, everything, anything and everything that I said. Like in our case, AI, ML, Industry 4.0, a lot of things have been done in Germany. The basic thing which needs to be done is startups from here need to understand that India is a different country. It provides a lot of challenges, both in terms of complexity, environment, working conditions, and the kind of discipline which is there. So therefore, you need to look at that how do we make sure that India becomes a hot test bed for the German startups as well. And that if they are successful in India, they can be successful anywhere in the world.
Yeah. Michael, your final remarks before we wrap up. You two, you see it's just the tip of the iceberg for the time being. As far as
I think we've scratched 1%. You only need to look at the attrition rates of Western companies in India. Usually we lose 12% of the employees every year, which means we're doing the wrong thing. I think you need to go high tech. I think really, if you think about Siemens for a second, I think 60% or whatever number it is of the car factories run with Siemens automation. Who owns the industry? That's European companies, and that's India. And I think artificial intelligence, again, we all know it's going to be a revolution, changing life more than the cell phone. And who's going to win that race? We've lost it already on the general side against the Americans and probably the Chinese when it comes to general applications of chatbots and banking and whatnot. But who's going to own industry? And I think Germany and India should really think hard about that question and think about what they can do together.
So clearly still lots of untapped potential here. That is what I'm deriving and concluding from this conversation. Michael Peter and Tapan Sahoo, thank you so much for your insights. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.